We are the Holocaust.
Welcome to We Are the Holocaust.
Good evening, Rob.
Hey, Bouncy.
It's episode 26 of Weird Holocaust, back in the game.
It is.
With me, Bouncy Hall,
Apparently so.
according to the Player 2 cast,
Yeah.
who can't even say my name, let alone win a pub quiz. Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
Fucking destroy them. Not that it would be very much. All we know that so far is that Ian is just trying to not come second to us,
Yeah.
and that Nikki knows stuff.
Oh,
That's all we know. She knows stuff.
Stuff.
She knows stuff.
stuff and things.
I know stuff, she
Yeah.
said. I know stuff. Repeatedly she said that.
Mm.
And then something about New Kids on the Block.
Yeah.
So she could write about the right stuff.
Maybe.
Is that New Kids on the Block?
I have no idea. That's a Channel 5 show.
I'm sure they did a song. Because New Kids on the Block,
Hang
I
Tough
think
was New Kids on the Block.
they had the first number one single of the 90s, New Kids on the Block.
Is that their claim to fame?
Well, it's a claim to fame.
It is.
Also, Mark Wahlberg, I think it was probably a bigger claim to fame.
No, it's Donnie Wahlberg.
And Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg was in New Kids on the Block.
He was in
He was
New
Marky
Kids on the-
Mark. He was in New
He
Kids
was
on the Block.
Marky Mark from New Kids on the Block. He was. That's how he got the Calvin Klein model gig.
No, Donnie Wahlberg was in there. Who was the
Yeah,
other one?
they
Jordan
were
Knight,
nice.
who briefly had a comeback in the early 2000s.
See, we already know more about New Kids on the Block than she knows about
Yeah.
New Kids on the Block. She was going on about how she can write stuff about New Kids on the Block.
Yeah.
So, consider your challenge, lady and gent, met with supreme violence and... Are you now Googling whether...
Yeah, and
Mark
it's going to
Wahlberg
really,
was
really
in?
annoy me. It's going to
I'm
genuinely annoy me.
99.9% sure that Mark Wahlberg was
Okay,
in.
members. Donnie Wahlberg.
Yeah,
Joe McIntyre.
yeah,
Jordan Knight, who
Yeah.
I mentioned. Jonathan Knight.
yeah.
Danny Wood. He was there. Mark Wahlberg.
There you go. There you see. That's okay.
I blatantly don't remember him being there. I
No.
was about 6 or 7 at the
I was
time.
gonna say, I was 10, 11 at that point,
Yeah.
so my burgeoning sexuality meant that I was aware of underwear models
Yep.
of both kinds because the K's catalogue
Had both kinds,
yeah.
yeah.
So flicking through to get to the Eva Herzegova Wonderbar adverts,
Yep.
you would have to pass by that one.
Yeah.
Just the way it goes. So yes, we're back in the game.
Yeah.
So
we did that.
For episode 26. And this week we're going to be talking about Comic-Con.
Yep.
Sort of the stuff that was talked about at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Jade Raymond.
Yep.
Off of Ubisoft.
Yeah. Not anymore.
We're talking about the biggest loss to gaming since my Dreamcast controller broke.
Yep.
And then we're going to finish off with a bit more talk about MGPX, including that pub quiz, what we just mentioned.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about Comic-Con.
Let's.
It was quite an interesting Comic-Con
Yeah.
because,
I always get weird with Comic Con
well,
because there's some stuff which is genuinely like that is really cool, and there's other stuff I just don't give a shit about.
the biggest surprise to me, no proper Marvel stuff really. All the Marvel
Yeah.
stuff that was big was the 20th Century Fox Marvel.
Yeah.
Because you had X-Men Apocalypse, which we haven't seen anything of, but it's been talked about a lot. Deadpool, which I assumed was going to be Marvel Studios. I didn't realise that was 20th Century Fox. I should know, really, shouldn't I? And obviously the other one that they're doing that I've forgotten the name of. Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was just seeing how long you go there.
It's because it's not written on there. I should have written on. I
Should have
wrote
written on
notes of things that I wanted to talk about,
And
so I
then we
didn't forget.
forgot the first thing we
And
were
the
going to talk
one bit
about.
that I was going to write down, I forgot to write down.
The Fantastic Four is the next one up. Ant-Man's obviously about to come out on
Ant-Man,
Friday.
yeah, Ant-Man on
And
Friday.
Fantastic Four's the next one in the chain, isn't it?
Next one, and then
Deadpool after that? Or is Captain America 3 before Deadpool?
Deadpool, Captain America, and X-Men all quite close together.
Yeah, they are. Next summer.
So, yeah, I mean, the Fantastic Four, they had an extended trailer of that, which I thought was less effective than the previous two. Because it felt a bit more superhero movie, whereas the other two felt like this could be quite dark and gritty.
There was a bit more grit to it, definitely.
Yeah, it just felt a bit more like, hey, this is going to be a fun adventure.
Yeah.
Don't worry too much, it's not going to be massively depressing. Like that first trailer where it was like the big heavy bass stings and a deep voiceover, it was kind of very foreboding. Whereas now they're kind of going, no, don't worry, it's still suitable for kids. Like, buy our toys.
Yeah.
It did sort of kind of make a big deal. Like, get me a flame-proof garage. It's like, oh, all right, with an open roof. Yeah, we get it. You fly, all right. You need to point that out. Stop talking about all your features. But no, it looks good. Doctor Doom looks better certainly than. But they all look better than the original film, with the exception of Human Torch, because frankly, Chris Evans is amazing.
He's Captain America.
He's Captain America.
Can't do both.
I know. So, right, biggest one I suppose had to have been Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice.
I would agree.
I think in terms of the one that had a lot to prove.
I think it had the most ridey on it potentially.
Yeah,
because it's two iconic characters. Man of Steel did pretty well. It rejuvenated the Superman franchise to the point where you've even got things like Supergirl and so forth coming along.
Yeah.
And obviously the Christopher Nolan Batman films were so popular, rightly or wrongly. I know not everybody agrees that they were these super amazing things. I very much enjoyed them.
I think they have to be judged on their own ground.
They do.
As soon as you compare them to anything
being the
else.
next Batman after that.
And being Affleck. That's
To be fair,
also
the thing is,
that seems to be where most of the criticism seems to come from.
Is that warranted anymore?
No.
I understand why it got to that point with the Daredevil film and Jersey Girl, and it was just like Ben Affleck's in this, like, oh no. But then Argo, Gone Girl.
Yeah, I think the problem is a lot of people.
Another man who's rejuvenated his career right there,
and he's writing, directing, and starring in the standalone Batman film. And if he makes a film anywhere near as good as Argo, but a Batman film,
where Batman's rescuing some Iranian hostages,
it's not entirely impossible, is it? But yeah, there's a lot of really good potential to come out from this. I mean, it's like I say again, Man of Steel was as equally loved as it was derided for being overly violent towards the end.
Yeah,
and it was too.
I liked that the trailer seems to suggest that Dawn of Justice will tie into the end of Man of Steel with the scenes with Ben Affleck, Bruce Wayne running around the city. Obviously, the buildings collapsing. And clearly, what is implied to be Zod and Superman battling.
Yeah, well, Zod's briefly seen as well.
Exactly. So I liked they tied in like that,
and it's important to do that because if Man of Steel was the first, just as was Iron Man the first? Or was
Iron Man came first?
Iron Man was the first proper Marvel one, wasn't it? And that sort of automatically started to be there.
Well, Iron Man was the first in the current
phase,
whatever you want to call it.
Because they'd done other ones, but that was that. So that was it. It was kind of that sharing point. That's the reality we're basing this all in, and everything's based from. Two bits in the trailer that genuinely had me most excited were the Robin suit with the Joker's writing on. Well, we assume the Joker's writing because we know that the Joker is in Suicide Squad, which we'll get to in a minute, and we know that Batman is in that, and it's the Ben Affleck Batman. So it makes sense that in some capacity Joker would be involved in a Batman vs Superman situation. But that also means that maybe we're going to see the Tim Drake? Oh, Jesus, my brain at the moment.
It's Tim Drake.
Tim Drake, the Robin that he killed.
Yeah.
That just doesn't sound right. Jason Todd. Jason Todd was always murdered. So if we imagine that is the Robin suit belonging to Jason Todd, it's an interesting thing because it fits with the idea of Batman being older. They've said that we want to play this as a Batman in his later years. So you would have to say, right, there's already been a couple of Robins by this point. And this has all happened, and there's a back history to a lot of it. And the Joker is coming into it at a point where they've been rivals for a long time. And I like that. I like that there's no origin. It's just Batman is a thing. And I've said this a lot about superheroes. It was my pet peeve with The Amazing Spider-Man. Was I have no issue with rebooting a series, but you don't need to redo the origin every single time. Because you know who Batman is. We know that his parents were murdered, he became a vigilante, he is Batman. You can show that as many times as you like. It doesn't change the fact that is a point that no matter how it's been revised, and who shot the parents, or where they were at the time, or whether they died immediately or not, the story has always been, that is his origin, this is it now. For this to sort of pick it up later on, it does a good thing, because the Christopher Nolan trilogy stands on its own. This could feasibly be a long shoot into the future kind of alternate.
You could reach for that if you really wanted to.
It does a lot without saying this is a solid reboot. It's just this is a Batman film. Forget everything else you've seen. It could be a sequel to the Joel Schumacher films.
Yeah.
In all intents and purposes, we're picking it up years later. We've had a couple of Robins.
Yeah.
Christopher O'Donnell is now Nightwing. Thank God he won't be in the round. And you've got this situation. So yeah, it's the imagery they've got with the red capes are coming, and it does look like they're going for a proper fist off. And then you've got Lex Luthor's hair.
Yes.
With Jesse Eisenberg.
Presumably he had hair at some point.
He had. A lot of the comics, he has hair very similar to that as well. It's just his most iconic role is with a bald head. But even the first Superman film, Gene Hammond had hair.
Yeah.
So it's not like those people he's supposed to be bald. It's like,
but even in
the most iconic Superman film, he had hair. Like, what's wrong with you people?
But even in things like Red Sun, which kind of flipped the whole Superman thing on its head, in that Lex Luthor had hair at the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
So it's not wildly out of sync with what we've seen.
I think, again,
if anything, it leads us down a path for future films. Because it's setting up Lex Luthor as much as it's setting up
and I think
Batman
for
and
a lot of people
Justice League and
who are keyboard champions of criticism, their Superman and their Lex Luthor was Smallville. Right. So they've already had Michael Rosenbaum being bald.
Yep.
And so their version of Lex Luthor has always been a bald guy. If you play the games, he's always been a bald guy.
Yeah, Kevin Spacey as well.
Yeah. So it's that kind of thing of, in your head, you imagine it one way, and then on screen it's something different. And that is never a good thing with a comic book movie, because people just seem so resistant to change in any way whatsoever. But I really dug it. I'm really excited. I couldn't care less about Wonder Woman being in there. That didn't sell it to me at all. I mean, I know this is the formation of the Justice League, and that's of importance, but my mouth made a voice really nice then. Great.
I am intrigued to see how she is woven into this plot.
My boss, the cinema owner, he doesn't like the actress of choice.
Oh.
He said she should be thin in the waist and big tits. I'm just like, yeah, it's not 70s anymore. But you're my boss, so I'll just kind of nod awkwardly and just go, yeah, well, you know, times are different. She's the one major female role model in DC's thing, so they've got to kind of deal with it well. But yeah, it is that thing, because the Wonder Woman character, much of my criticism of DC is that the majority of the characters just have these really stupid ideas that don't tie in together. Like with Marvel, you've got New York full of heroes.
Yeah.
With DC, it's like, well, you've got that guy living underwater, you've got that woman from the Amazon, you've got this guy over there, you've got that guy at the North Pole, you've got this. They've all got their own city, and it's because of that the comics never really blend very well. And I think Wonder Woman being this Amazonian princess as such, it's kind of it will be okay, but the problem is Man of Steel and the Batman saga have both been quite grounded in a reality. Yeah. Even if it is a fantastical one. Whereas the Amazonian princess thing doesn't quite... Well, got a magical truth lasso and bulletproof wrist guard.
Didn't show anything like that in the trailer.
Well, she had the wrist guard thing, deflecting bullets
that's true,
in there. But it's one of those things where they need to really concentrate on her just being a strong woman. Yeah. And not so much the... like kind of spinning on the spot and changing outfits.
A guy I know does a hockey podcast. I remember him saying the most unrealistic thing in all comic books was that lasso of truth. Because he said, you got this woman in skimpy clothing, and none of them ever went, you're really hot. Lasso of truth, where is the gold? You're fit, love. Do you go for a pint? And it's just like how unrealistic.
Because that's the thing.
There's bound to be one chauvinist twat in there somewhere. Who's going to go,
and also, if you're being held by a lasso of truth, and you know it's going to make you tell the truth, just don't answer the question. Say anything else. You won't be able to lie.
Yeah.
It's not a lasso of make you answer the question I'm asking you.
Yeah.
It's not like Will Ferrell's character, Lost in Power, where you just ask him 3 times and he wouldn't tell you the answer. What is it?
Mustafa.
Yeah.
Mustafa.
But yeah, that's a weird one. So I think to weave her in now is a good point, because I think a Wonder Woman standalone wouldn't do well now. I think post this, once they've integrated the character into the cinematic world,
maybe you think about it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But then we have the same conversation about Black Widow potentially as well.
But then Black Widow,
Black Widow.
Yeah, Black Widow, because I think she's the most interesting character in the Avengers.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of backstory videos, and that's the point I'm trying to make with Wonder Woman, is I want to get a feel for the character first and then dig into it, because I just don't think commercially I don't think it'd do very well. Which we read actually in that email, didn't we? Which was talking about female superheroes. It was leaked. It was like people don't want to watch female superheroes.
Yeah, the Sony leaked emails. Yeah.
And I think there is an element of truth in that. In that, the Supergirl film with Helen Slater, it wasn't a great film, but it didn't do very well at all. Even when the Superman movies were huge, you'd have thought that a spin-off of those alone would have been enough. I mean, Christ, people went to see Caravan of Courage, an Ewok spin-off of Star Wars. More people went to see that than saw a Supergirl film, which is a Superman film, but with a hot blonde. Like, it had everything going for it on that element, but obviously people don't want to go. Elektra did absolutely terribly. Catwoman did absolutely... But
Elektra was a spin-off of a terrible film, though.
And Catwoman was a spin-off of a good film, but done terribly. And
but that's the other thing, because the stereotype very quickly bites. If it's a bad film, the stereotype so easily gets pulled out going, well, what did you expect? It's like, and maybe that's the apprehension. I don't say the apprehension with Black Widow, I don't know. But there does seem to be a stupid idea that it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Bad films deserve not to be seen.
Yeah.
But nobody's yet made a good one, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I just think now we're at a point where the
Supergirl TV series might be a watershed for this, because if that does well...
that's it, yeah. Well, interesting you should say that, Rob, because have you ever heard of Birds of Prey?
What?
A TV show called Birds of Prey.
It does ring a bell.
Right, I had totally forgotten about Birds of Prey. It was only when I was arguing with somebody that Harley Quinn has been live action
what, the animals?
So basically he was saying that, it's brilliant that we're finally getting Harley Quinn on screen.
Yeah.
It's non-animated. I was like, well, she was in Arrow, or from the back, which suggests she was in Arrow. But also, she was the main bad guy in a TV series once called Birds of Prey. The guy was like, what? I went, I don't even know where that came from. Like, my head just went, oh yeah, she's this thing. And it was. Yeah. It's basically, Batman leaves Gotham City.
Right.
The Huntress, who is the daughter of Catwoman and Bruce Wayne. She teams up with the Oracle. To fight Harley Quinn and her range of bad guys.
Here we go, 2002.
Yeah, and it was a one series thing. It got cancelled.
Yeah.
But weirdly, I have it on like this weird DVD thing somewhere. So I'm going to dig it out and rewatch it, because I haven't seen it since I first watched it, which is a long while ago, as we've attested. But it was a series like, you think how big comic books are, and yet that was that blip of time where comics were just the worst. That you could make a Warner Brothers TV show based on Batman, starring Harley Quinn, and nobody really knows what it is. Like, that's the weird anomaly there. Like, there was a time when nobody cared. Post 9/11, you could make whatever you wanted and just put it out on telly, and they would just go, oh. But yeah.
Dina Myers was in it, who was Diz in Starship Troopers. Everybody else remembers that?
Yeah.
Mia Sara, Christ, she was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Mm-hmm. And Time Cop.
And Time Cop.
Yeah.
Time Cop, he's the cop that can't be stopped.
Yeah.
Because of the clock.
Aaron Paul was in it as well.
Yeah. Like I said, it was an alright series. I remember it. It was on a par with like the Robocop TV series, if you ever saw that.
Christ, yeah.
With Pudface Morgan. It was one of those things that
and
was...
sure enough, who played the Joker in it?
Go on.
Mark Hamill.
Oh, well, there you go.
There we go. That means it is canon, because Mark Hamill was the Joker.
Canon, yeah. I didn't even remember him being in it.
Joe
So whether it was just a voice role, or whether he was just sort of in it briefly, but yeah, it was just a cheesy kind of TV drama thing that was all female superheroes as a team trying to work out why Batman had buggered off.
In fact, Mia Sara, I think, was Dr. Harley Quinn.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
So yeah, so if you're into DC, look it up. I'm sure you'll be able to find it on torrent site or something. So I guess that's where I probably got it from at the time. Because they never showed it in the UK. It's one of those things that at that time I was heavily into pirating things because of 9/11. Don't want terrorists winning, you know.
So you're going to pirate them instead. Yeah.
So yeah, which leads us on nicely to Suicide Squad.
Yes.
Which is the first big cinematic screen iteration of Harley Quinn, and I think it's fair to say that she holds the screen well. They know that she's going to be the big star.
Well, I think it was always going to be one of three people.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Jared Leto as the Joker, or Will Smith, because it's Will Smith.
Yeah, and all three managed to balanced out well in that trailer. It leaked on the internet, obviously, because it wasn't officially released. David Ayres was furious.
Yeah.
He took to Twitter and said, "I'm very annoyed that someone's leaked it."
I liked the hilarious Warner Brothers press release because it was the most like this is the most butthurt press release by a major corporation ever, and it was kind of like, you dicks.
Yeah. Well, they said
kind of like, well, basically, you've put the trailer at Comic-Con in the 21st century when mobile phones exist with cameras in that can be streamed instantly.
I know, it's weird.
How did you not think this might happen?
What David Ayres said, and he was right to say what he said it from a point, is that it's annoying that people who queued up for hours to see it as an exclusive Comic-Con thing sort of wasted their time. But
I agree with the principle, but again...
At the same time, you could have released that the next day.
Yeah.
And they still would have had a bit of early show. And you also, what you could have done is put the screen behind a filter that would allow it to not be filmed.
Yeah.
Because they do exist.
They do.
But they don't. Or just block phone signals and stuff.
Just set up an EMP just before you play the video.
Take his phone off him. So if you want to go in, that's fine, but no phones. Like when Jurassic World came out, I think I showed you the photo I took of the sign that said
no photos.
Cinemas for not taking photos and things. And I do. I had to go into the stage and check, make sure nobody's filming. Luckily, where we are is lovely.
Yeah. Nobody's that technologically advanced.
No, you don't generally get some old man with a Betamax camera on a stand as filming Jurassic World.
Some guy with a selfie stick on his shoulder, just resting it casually.
But yeah, even when we were there, I was taking pictures of the credit sequences for each of the Avengers film, the marathon, which is not exactly breaching a copyright, but it is sort of wrong.
But Jeremy Renner is suing you.
But with this one, luckily they released it in full version because the grainy nature of the leaked version made it far more creepy than it needed to be. Because it's a creepy trailer.
Yeah. Good.
It should be. It's
That's
supposed to be dark.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be creepy. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I think the Joker is brilliant.
Yeah, I like what I've seen. We talked about this before when the original promotional shot was released. Because a lot of people went, I don't like it. Because obviously they associate the Joker with Heath Ledger. But then equally you had a whole generation of people go, I don't like Heath Ledger because they remember Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
But no, from what they showed of Jared Leto in the role, it looks promising. The whole trailer I thought looked very promising. We talked about it a few episodes ago. We had a little bit of apprehension because it's not the easiest subject matter per se.
No.
This is Batman. And everybody goes, I know Batman.
Yeah. And
This is Superman. I know Superman. This is Wolverine, you know, Super Spider-Man. This has been quite...
the only people know, the Joker and Harley are the only ones they'll know. From a general point of view.
Definitely. And even then, I would argue maybe Harley Quinn is not that well known to the masses.
No.
Because there are small hardcore people, or a small percentage who will know the characters. Some of them will know the characters intimately from reading the comic books for years, the cartoon series and so forth, but your average Joe, should we call them, who will attribute for most of the box office takings, probably won't know a lot.
No.
So they needed to make an impact.
The trailer makes it clear that you see Harley Quinzel before transforming, with her glasses on. You see her in a car chase with Batman on top of the car, and her saying, make a joke about her insurance. And that's early stage Quinn. Then, of course, the other time we're seeing her is she's incarcerated. So we know that Batman is going to arrest them both. And there's a scene where Harley licks the cage bars on a cage. And she's on the outside of it, so we can assume that Joker is in the cage there. So you mix it together. The question I'm wondering is the scene with the Joker. Is that going to be the creation of Harley? Because he was an abusive relationship from that point of view, and that would be something that could push her over the edge. Because I still don't think he's going to be a major part of the film. I don't want him to be. He wasn't part of.
He wasn't part of the promotional picture.
No, I think
the team
to have a Batman universe film without Batman and the Joker is going to be a hard sell. And by putting them in, you've got that anchor point. Like we were talking about with Dawn of Justice, you have these bits where it makes it more commercially viable because people going in without. If you took Batman and the Joker out of that trailer, for a lot of people, that wouldn't even be a DC movie.
No.
It's just...
That would be an alternative type action. The Expendables. I liked what they did those anchor points, but that they also featured Enchantress and things like that.
Yeah.
Because that's a good... It's a trailer, it's a tee-up for the film, so you can't just go, Harley Quinn.
No, that's it.
Bit of Will Smith, bit of Batman, bit of Joker. There we go. Because you've got other characters. So just to have those sort of spot points.
And it seems to walk a line between comic book movie and gritty drama quite nice as well. It's got the look of a David Ayer film.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Will Smith said the name of the film in the trailer.
Really
it's always popular.
Which every time that happens, when I'm watching a film with my partner, I think I might have even done it with you sometimes.
Yeah, me and Emma do it.
They've just said the name of the film. Yeah. And then I go, that's why I'm doing it again.
Yeah, we do it. I think ours started spurring off the back of a Family Guy episode, where every time they mention it, it goes, So we start doing that now, just jabbing each other.
It is very good. But yeah, I'm very excited. I'm actually more excited for Suicide Squad than I am Dawn of Justice. But only just.
I'm probably slightly more Dawn of Justice, but not a lot in it. After seeing that trailer, there's no.
I don't like Superman. So
there is that.
The idea of Batman getting an armour suit, punching him in the face is good. But I am a huge Suicide Squad fan, as you know. And to finally see that on screen. And I love David Ayer films. I love Fury. So to see him. It was like when Christopher Nolan said he was doing Batman. I was more excited for that because it was Christopher Nolan doing a comic book movie. Yeah. David Ayer doing a comic book movie is very exciting to me. So, yeah, I will still absolutely be seeing both. But if I had to pick one, if there was I had a gun to made and only one of them got made, it would be Suicide Squad. Because I could live without Dawn of Justice. Yeah. Deadpool. Yeah. We haven't seen the trailer official for. Have you seen the leaked version yet?
I haven't actually. No, I'm waiting for the official one. Because I'd rather wait for the official one. I resisted. I
love Deadpool. Oh, we're being invaded by the RAF. I hope it's the RAF, not the Russians.
Russian Air Force.
Fucking Argentines. I have watched the leaked version.
Right.
Because I knew what would happen. I wouldn't watch it. I'd go to work, and one of my film buff customers would come in and go, "Meh." There's not a lot to spoil, really. It's an origin story, quite clearly. Wade Wilson is exactly as you expect to be. It's Ryan Reynolds. The only line I will tell you from the trailer that I absolutely loved, they were saying about they put him through his process and make him stronger. And again, they basically turn you into a superhero. And he goes, just a couple of questions about the suit. Can you not make it computer animated and not in green? To which the crowd just out roar because it's like, ha ha ha, yeah, fuck you, Green Lantern. Ha ha ha, he's mocking the film that he was in. Ha ha ha. It's that tone sets the whole thing. It's got Colossus from X-Men because they very often teamed up.
They did.
And another character who I won't mention because I want you to enjoy that yourself.
No, but I'm not or haven't been as into Deadpool as you are. Yeah. That's why I'd rather wait for the proper stuff to come out. Yeah. Because all the promotional stuff they've done has been really good. Yeah. Like, was it Comic Con Por Favor? He's at the side of the road in like Mexico with the sombrero, and it's just those little bits like that. I'd rather see it properly than have some grainy bullshit kind of like spoil it, I guess. So, yeah. That's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I had no worries whatsoever. As soon as Ryan Reynolds announced he was doing a proper Deadpool movie, off the back of that teaser they did to try and get funding, where he was sat on the bridge.
In the car,
That's made it into the trailer as well.
They did suggest that would happen.
So that's good, and hopefully it'll make it into the film a little bit. Because there is the scene that came after that sequence in the trailer, I don't remember seeing in the original, although I should really rewatch the original and see. But yeah, it's a good, solid trailer that had the crowd absolutely whipped up into a storm. I mean, it's the right crowd anyway for it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's nothing more cynical than an actual crowd of gamers.
Yeah.
And comic book fans.
It could. I mean, this is the one of them all potentially that could be the cult hit. The one that has the lasting.
I think it's going to be up there on my shelf with Deadpool as the best. Dread as the best 18-rated comic book movies of all time. There'll still only those two.
Yeah, still it's up there.
They are brilliant. Yeah. Star Wars didn't show a trailer.
No.
Instead, they did exactly the right move in my mind by showing a making of. I
steered clear of it because I want to steer clear of it.
Yeah,
I want to wait to see the film. I'll probably when all the Blu-ray comes out and all the stuff's there, I'll watch it then. I want to steer away from it as much as I can.
Very much. After having watched it, I've watched it 5 times. It is sitting there saying, you know what? And we know you're worried about what we're going to do with Star Wars. So let us just show you a few things that we're doing while making this film. So it's things like, well, it's not every day you have to make a full-size Millennium Falcon. And it's like straight away like, I'm happy that you've made a full-size Millennium Falcon. That's what they did with the original. It's what they didn't do.
They've done proper full sets.
We on location. There's no point shooting against green screen. We're using practical puppets and effects wherever we can. And it's just like, these are all... It's almost like they went through every concern, every criticism of any trailer comment and just going, but that's CGI. And they're going, and this is how this works. And you're like, it's not CGI.
Yeah.
And then they pull out Simon Pegg in a costume going... Well, this is sort of living the dream, isn't it? Like, after everything he said about the original, the new trilogy and the burning of the merchandise in space and everything else, it was very clear that having his stamp of approval, okay, maybe it's money related, but I don't think he would be anywhere near it if he was worried. It was almost like it was just a case of, look, calm the hell down. Yes, the trailers are exciting, but we're as excited to be making the film. Trust us to do what we can. Then... a load of people were in a hall, and Jade Raymond took the people out to a new hall where they were showing a video from John Williams, who then went and made A Force Be With You, and then an impromptu concert came on with remix versions of Star Wars themes and stuff. It was a proper celebration of let's be fans of something without having to say here's another 3-minute trailer, because the trailers aren't important. Yeah. If you're a huge fan of something and you've been burned a few times.
See, that's the very first teaser they brought out. I was very apathetic towards. The second one got me excited. Yeah. And I purposely would rather not know how they do it, because as much as I appreciate how they make these films, as I said, I'd like to watch it after seeing the film.
As a making of, it's not telling you a lot, it's just giving you that's that.
I just want to kind of avoid those little bits, so I purposely steer clear of it.
The thing that still amazes me is that ball droid. Yeah. The only one was in the first trailer. The fact that that's not a special effect. Yeah, it's awesome. That's real. Yeah. It's just like...
We just sent a tin can past Pluto. Nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah. Which is also amazing. Yeah. But I hadn't realised...
What amazes me is we can send a tin can past Pluto, but we can't stop shooting each other because of our skin colour or religion. What a species.
If you put the people who sent a tin can to Pluto in charge, we would stop shooting each other. The first thing they do is melt all the guns down and make more
tin cans.
Because it's just the most logical option. The problem is you've got... big money in war is going to always be at the top. And then so much so that NASA's stopped doing what they're doing. Yeah. I mean, that was the thing actually in Tomorrowland.
More tin cans!
One of the first early pieces, and why the girl gets picked to potentially go and help save Tomorrowland, is she travels to them taking apart one of the shuttle launch pads, and she sabotages the demolition equipment. Yeah. And it's that whole thing of that launch pad represents Earth, or just not even just Earth, but just say America. America's ambition to do more and to explore and do exciting things, and because of the Challenger and because of then was it the Atlantis that broke up?
I think it was Atlantis.
And then the subsequent scaling back of all the operations and stuff. It was just like suddenly, well, what are we doing now? Like the probes that are out there were sent out years and years ago. Yeah. I mean, that was 18 years that's been going, something like that, wasn't it?
More than that, I think.
So it's just like, that's lovely. And we've had a photo of Pluto. It's actually a photo of Pluto. So now all textbooks are wrong again because they always show it as blue. It's not blue.
There's a little GIF montage on Twitter doing the rounds of all the pictures they've had over the years. Yeah. So like Hubble's in there and the early stuff, and obviously it starts off like an old pixelated thing from Doom. When you got really close to the imps in Doom, it starts off like that, gets clearer, and obviously through till what we've just seen this week.
Very exciting. So, very, very exciting. And I love the fact that it had a heart on it. Yeah. Because that just makes it so internet friendly.
It does.
Pluto was, because it was kind of pushed out of being a planet.
It's not even a planet
It was always like the sad one of the solar system, and everybody had that sort of, it had that internet meme thing going on anyway. It was like,
and then it turns out he loves us all.
And then there was a brilliant cartoon that somebody had drawn, which was Pluto just sitting there going, and then sort of spotting something, and then the probe getting closer, and it going, and then the probe goes past, and it just goes, and the heart cracks in half on his chest. And I was like, oh, but that's now left the solar. Well, it's leaving the solar system now, so we'll see what happens next. But it's bizarre. It is bizarre. I love it. I love anything to do with space because I was a child of the 80s, and it's hard not to. And you've got,
but I'm the same.
All that sort of stuff, and yet my kids don't give a shit.
That saddens me
because it's all been done.
Yeah.
You know, like I showed my kids a rocket, like an actual shuttle launch when it happened live.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, they can launch. And they were just, no. Fucking spaceship.
Going into space!
Going into space. And like, yeah, but we watched Apollo 13 at work, at school, and it was better shots than that. I was like, it's not about better shots, it's about that's real, that's happening now, that could explode. That's why you should be excited. It could explode and kill everyone. But no, that's why everybody watches Formula 1. Same thing.
Of course, see the crash.
Yeah.
NASCAR, Formula 1, MotoGP, just
golf.
there for the crashes.
Same. Ice hockey with the top cheddar.
Yep. Top cheese.
Well, you didn't have either.
Yeah.
I looked it up after asking you, and then you didn't say anything back. I looked it up. I was like, I was. I'm sure I'd heard it at some point. I didn't know what it meant, but I had heard it at some point. Anyway, that for people at home, Rob got some hockey.
Bauer, the equipment manufacturer, have made basically a keyboard for iPhone, which does hockey emojis. That's what it is.
Because you sent me one with like a little helmet and a broken tooth.
It's a smiley emoji, but he's got a hockey helmet on and a missing tooth.
Which I didn't realise I thought it was a pirate. Until you put the one that you said that Emma didn't understand, then it twigged what you had to go.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on, Doctor Who Series 9. I saw the trailer for this. I don't know about you.
I did. I always have a mixed feeling about Doctor Who trailers because they either make it look better or worse than it actually is in reality.
Yeah, this one, it just didn't feel like Doctor Who at all. Even though he went, I'm the Doctor in it. And it had a bloody... oh, Christ. See, I should have written this down. The returning thing that was in the anniversary one. It's Zygons.
Yeah.
Got the Zygons back, which is like properly seen now. And they are a good monster to have. But, I don't know.
They were never very good in the first place.
Bringing Missy back was a good move. But, again, is that too soon? Yeah. We'll kill her off in one episode and then, she's back. No, we knew she was coming back.
But they keep doing that with the Master anyway.
Spoiler! Sorry. They
Bollocks.
should know.
If they don't know by now, then yeah.
But I was very underwhelmed by that. I didn't like him saying, I'm the Doctor, I save people. I don't want a Doctor who saves people.
We've got Harold Shipman.
I wanted Peter, but I wanted Malcolm Tucker as the Doctor.
I'm going to save the fucking universe.
And we got him for the first few episodes when he was very grumpy, and I loved that. And then when he sort of softened a bit, I was like, and then he got grumpy again. I was like, that's alright, it's okay. And then he's going on about genuinely wanting to help people. And I'm like, don't help people, they don't need help. Help yourself.
Because he's shooting each other and sending rockets to Mars.
Yeah, like,
bastards.
But, no, I'm still excited there's a new series coming. Of course I am, it's Doctor Who, and I love Doctor Who. What I didn't put on there was the Sherlock trailers out for the Christmas special.
Yeah.
Set in Victorian England.
Yeah, which I thought was a good idea.
But
I like that.
I don't quite know whether that's everything it seems.
It never
Because
is
the
with Sherlock,
script-
that's the entire point.
Yeah, the script was very in-jokey about the books. And it was like, you got to blame the illustrator for how you're being treated. I've got to grow this moustache so people can recognise me. And things like that. I loved the line about when the kid asked Sherlock, did you solve the case? And he went, well, we found the killer, but we couldn't find the legs, so we'll call it a draw.
Yeah.
The humour's definitely there. So I think it is either going to be a completely separate, like, one-off, it's set in Victorian England as a joke, or that Victorian England thing is going to be part of a bigger...
Some sort of drug haze.
Yeah, whether they've been knocked out or they're dreaming, or it's just going to be John waking up after...
Life on Mars meets Sherlock.
Because I think there's too much reference into Conan Doyle's books than you get in the main series, certainly. And having characters having self-awareness is also quite a big thing in fictional narrative. Yeah. So I'm very excited because it's got me thinking, but is that what that is? Or is that what that... What is that? What is going on here? So, yeah, it's going to be quite cool. Man from U.N.C.L.E. extended trailer.
I'm really excited for this film.
Because
I grew up watching the reruns of the TV series on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And I really loved it as a kid. So I'm quite excited for this one.
And I'm very excited that Guy Ritchie has finally grown up.
See, I enjoyed his Sherlock Holmes films.
I enjoyed his Sherlock Holmes films. I enjoyed Snatch very much. I enjoyed Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. I even enjoyed Revolver. I will say that. I enjoyed it, right? But this one doesn't look like a Guy Ritchie film.
Not in the same way.
And that's what I like about it. In that I had a conversation today about Tarantino films. And that the thing I love most about Tarantino is his unwillingness to just stick in a genre. So for everybody who hated Jackie Brown, the biggest criticism that ever came out for Jackie Brown was it wasn't like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
It was a 70s blaxploitation film. And then he does a Western. And he's doing this weird sort of like kind of grindhouse movie. And he's always doing the film he wants to do.
Yeah.
And other directors, they don't do that. And Guy Ritchie was one of those. Even Sherlock felt like an East End gangster film.
Yeah.
But with a Sherlock Holmes. So it had that modern element. Whereas Man from U.N.C.L.E. does look like a 60s spy adventure.
Yeah.
Right through and through. The only thing that looked anything like a Guy Ritchie film was the fight in the toilet cubicles where they go through all the walls of the toilet cubicle. But other than that, it just looked a very competently made film. And it actually was more interesting than the new Mission Impossible as a spy movie goes. Because it doesn't seem to rely on massive name stars.
So I kind of feel like Mission Impossible is less spy movie, more action movie these days. Although it's about spy agency. You can kind of see what I'm driving at.
Yeah.
Whereas Man from U.N.C.L.E. felt more like a spy film. This sounds like a really weird way to describe things. But
the guy who's actually credited for writing the screenplay for the new Mission Impossible, he's quite incredible. So you've not heard, we've not really heard too much about Mission Impossible 4 having a lot of troubles.
No.
But they've had major issues with the script.
Right.
To the point where people have walked away from it every single time. So they've had 4 different writers officially. So Christopher McQuarrie.
E.L. James involved here?
Yeah. Christopher McQuarrie, who's the director, and he also produced and wrote Usual Suspects. He's credited as part of the writer.
Okay.
But the main guy is a guy called Drew Pearce,
right?
Who is most famous on
your phone
on IMDb,
not being able to be found,
as directing the one shot with the Mandarin for Marvel.
Oh yeah, Ben Kingsley.
Yeah, and that's about it. He's worked as a cameraman on The Big Breakfast.
Right.
Another writer who was on there was responsible for writing a computer game. I can't remember which computer game it was, but I think it was a Need for Speed game.
Right.
Let's see if I can find him.
So they've had a strange group of people attempting to write quite a big franchise film.
Yeah, and the thing that worries me is if you've got Christopher McQuarrie, who's the kind of co-creator essentially of The Usual Suspects, one of the best written films ever, why wouldn't you want your name put to that? So I am very worried about Mission Impossible 4 because despite everything, I loved the third one, which I can't even remember the name of now. Ghost Protocol. I loved that. I thought that it kind of revigorated my interest in it, particularly because of Jade Raymond. I thought it was going to be Tom Cruise's last. He would step up, and it would be quite an exciting thing. And then when Tom Cruise comes back again, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. We get it. You like doing your own stunts. The Church of Scientology has instilled in you a no fear policy because you paid for your spaceship to God or whatever it is you people believe. But yeah, I mean, it looks it's good, but I just think Man from U.N.C.L.E. is just more exciting.
Yeah,
and more competent as a film when you take out all the special effects.
Well, as I said, I treat Mission Impossible films as
old
films.
man Hugh Grant.
Grumpy old man Hugh Grant.
Saw him at the Wimbledon final. I watched the Wimbledon final, Rob.
Did you?
You know, I was talking about tennis jokes this last week, which I never did any of in the show. I've watched the Wimbledon final because I finally persuaded my girlfriend to get a HD TV.
Yeah.
All because of Wimbledon.
Yeah.
We were in a shop and I went, oh, you know what would look really good on HD? Well, when was it? Well, it's the final. She went,
don't like football.
Oh, yeah. And she's like, but... Oh, she loves Wimbledon. She loves tennis. And obviously having Djokovic and that guy who I also think is from America but isn't Federer.
Tell her never to fall for a tennis player. Love means nothing to them.
Oh, Christ. That's terrible. You've made me pass wind in disgust. But I basically said, like, just imagine that. Now, of all things in the world where HD would probably benefit you, I don't think tennis is one of them. The very flat, green court.
It's pretty fast moving, though.
It is.
I know it's back and forth.
And do you know the first thing she said? There was somebody presenting, I think it was Sue Barker, And she went, Christ, she looks old. I went, that's HD. It really isn't nice to older people.
It is that bit from Family Guy. Yeah.
And
did you see the ball boy stack it?
What?
To the left of where the judge, I can't remember if it was at the end of a game or mid-game when they were changing round.
Right.
To the left of where the judge, or to the judge's left, sorry. Obviously, ball boy, I think it was ball boy. Obviously goes to run back to wherever. Karen's load of tennis balls, just stacks it, falls down, face first, balls everywhere. I'm like, I just like the responses one of the BBC journalists put going, you're live on BBC, don't screw up. Splash. So yeah, I must have watched that GIF about 100 times. Just because it's like,
I will have to have a look at it.
It's one of those ones where you're just like, oh, on live TV. Oh.
Well, I suppose you
it's
can.
Like, it's not. Nobody came to any harm.
I tell you what I did.
It just fell over, but it's just like, oh.
I don't know if you watched the final at all.
I didn't.
But have you ever?
Why is Djokovic the bad guy in that?
Do you know that I was so pissed off? I don't know if you saw on Twitter. I was
Yeah,
very
I
annoyed
felt the
about
same.
it.
It's like, why is he the bad man in this?
Like Federer's the bad guy. He's the Swiss. What the fuck do they ever do?
He's probably friends with Sepp Blatter.
Well, I came up with a story for why the crowd loved Roger Federer. Because there's no reason to love Roger Federer at all, right?
No, I can understand the reasons people do, but it was the way Djokovic was painted as like the emperor of the evil
Serbian.
Empire. Yeah, the evil Serbian.
Well,
out to hurt Paul Roger.
I came out with a sympathetic backstory for Roger Federer, which is basically like everybody loves Andy Murray. That's because he was in a cupboard during Dunblane. That was my story. Like people always have that sympathy thing. They always look at him and think he's triumphed because of this adversity, and that's part of the idea. Because there's nothing else to Andy Murray.
If you roll it back before he won Wimbledon or the Olympic medal, I'm not sure that was the case. He was always that miserable Scottish bastard, and then
until he lost. No, until he lost. Every time he was in Wimbledon, everybody liked him. And then he lost. Yeah. It was like,
good
for Britain. Oh, you fucking Scottish guy. And so
get that Canadian back.
So this is this situation, right? Roger Federer, when he was a child, he was visiting the town hall in his little Swiss town, and a giant hand-carved cuckoo clock fell on him,
right?
And he could hear birds tweeting, but he couldn't tell if it was the clock or just him. Right. And they had to prise it off with just multifunction knives, right? Because the army was all in the Vatican, so there was nobody to lift it up, because that's what the Swiss army does. They guard the Vatican.
Right.
Switzerland. It's near Germany, and they send their army to the north of Italy.
Yeah,
idiots.
Italy and Switzerland share a border.
So it's not the point. They in the Vatican. They're not where they need to be, defending the cheese and the chocolates. So
because they've got all the money. No one's going to fuck with Switzerland.
Anyway. So that was there. I was like,
burn it all.
Horrible thing where like
as soon as a tank rolls past the border, they're setting fire to the nuts.
And now basically Roger's entire face has been animated by Arthman Animation, and everybody loves Arthman Animation because it's Wallace and Gromit, and that's why the crowd loved him. Whereas it turns out that Djokovic was a Serbian member of the Black Hand, and he shot the hook that was holding the cuckoo clock accidentally while at a rifle range in Serbia, fired a bullet in the air, which was carried all the way to Switzerland. And the crowd knew this, even though it hadn't been made public, and they just couldn't bring themselves to cheer him. However, when he won, then they were cheering.
Yeah.
Sycophantic wankers. Yeah. It was unfair because he was playing an incredible game of tennis. They both were on real good form.
Oh, yeah.
But every time Djokovic scored a point, it was just like a stunted... And every time, if I was him, I'd have done like
Russell Crowe in Gladiator. Are you not entertained?
Yeah, I'd just like break my tennis racket, throw it at him.
He did try, didn't he? He tried to smash it on his foot.
Oh, I would just have gone, you know what? Fuck the lot of you. I don't care at the £1.8 million. I'm going to win in a minute for beating this Swiss bastard.
I'm going to win that big plate and then I'm going to dance.
Yeah,
it was very good at that.
Whatever happened, he was going out with almost £1 million at the least. And... I'm sure it's the only reason he wanted to keep him going, because the crowd was so clearly against him, and yet he's a very funny man.
Yeah,
I love Djokovic. Yeah. I've kind of got into tennis a little bit because of my partner, and she was saying about how he used to take the mickey out of Anna Kournikova. He once did a whole match where he was doing her grunt and just like playing like in her style. You don't see that much in sports, and when you get that, you should nurture it and encourage it, not be like, well, he's too jokey for Wimbledon. And then you've got fucking Bradley Cooper sitting in the crowd. I go, no, it's Bradley Cooper. I'm a big fan of tennis. No, he's not. He's just here because he's got free tickets.
He turns up every year.
There's Hugh Grant there looking...
He managed to turn up in the proper attire as well. More than we said with Lewis Hamilton.
And certainly not said for those bloody crazy Australian fans who turned up.
I did see one bit very briefly where they've blatantly just thrown a tie at Andy Roddick and going, "We're going to film you in the commentary box. You need to put this on."
Way
and
over
he's
the
just
side.
like,
Yeah, it was. I said,
"What do I do with this?"
I said to my partner, I'm going to tweet this. This is stupid. I'm fucking useless. And I loaded Twitter. The first 2 tweets were, Andy Roddick's tie is a fucking disgrace. Yeah. It was just everybody going, wow, honestly, he goes to Wimbledon and he doesn't have a straight tie. And my partner went, yeah, but I can't remember the other commentator, the one who's always there. So it wasn't Tim Hedman, the main guy from the BBC. But he was a tennis player once, but he didn't have a blazer or a tie on. And I was like, yeah, but they've got the Wimbledon tie. Yeah. He's not part of probably the Wimbledon group, or it's maybe ex-tennis players or ex-committee members or something, and he hasn't got it. Andrew something his name was. And she was like, yeah, but if he's not wearing a tie, why should Andy Roddick have to wear a tie? I go, well, he's barely wearing a tie, that's what he's doing. So, but during the final, they thought it was going to be rained off. So, obviously, they've got to shut the roof, but they have to cover it, so they have to do that very quick. Yeah. Jesus Christ, that's like the opening of Thunderbirds, that was. The umpire thing is on wheels. That was wheeled straight out. The thing was down. Everything was just like move real quick. The only thing that made it more exciting is the pitch opened up and a rocket took off and sent a tin can to Pluto. I watched it and I thought this must happen like every time that it rains on a tennis match. But that's the first time I've ever seen it, and it's fucking impressive.
I just like the way they've got a roof that closes and they didn't close it.
Well, it takes time to close, and apparently it changes the atmosphere inside, so they usually give a bit of time so the players aren't then having to adjust it while it goes or something. But it was funny because they were like going, "Oh, this is all going to be very exciting. They're getting ready. You can see them getting ready." And it was like 7 seconds the pitch was covered. I was like, they could do that, but they couldn't come up with a way of just saying, you know what, let's have an all-weather court and just play in the rain, because that would be exciting. Also, why don't people go to Wimbledon matches with a few extra balls in the pockets and just, at a key point, just throw them in? Like
multi-ball.
Because
that should be the tiebreaker.
Well, Claire said that you'd get stopped by security, and I'd say, well, I'm going to get my ball signed. Like, I think it's okay to have tennis ball with you if you're going to a tennis match, because you can get that signed, or a tennis racket. You're not going to suddenly run on and play a game. Whereas if I was going with like a hand grenade, yes, maybe that would be dangerous, or I had a tin can with spikes in it.
You had your own balls in your hand.
But like a tube of 3 tennis balls to say, oh, I want that one for Federer, that one for Roderick, and that one for Federer, Djokovic, and say Mary.
Anyone else?
And I just want to get those. None of the women ones though, because they can't play properly. That's getting into the Wimbledon crowd state. There was somebody interviewed about Serena Williams' win, saying wasn't that really good, and he went, to be honest, I got no interest in women's tennis. And I went, well, why is that? And he goes, well, apart from the skirts, there's nothing interesting about it. And you just think, wow, well done you, mate. You've done really well for yourself. But yeah, so I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved Wimbledon. And just that whole Thunderbirds thing was great. Back to Comic-Con though, which wasn't Wimbledon. Man in the High Castle was shown off, which is coming to Amazon Prime, based on Philip K. Dick's novel. And I don't know if you saw this.
I know nothing about this.
Okay, so this is... have you ever heard of Richard Harris's Fatherland?
Yes.
The alternate timeline thing. It's basically that, but the guy who wrote Blade Runner also did one. And it's kind of a resistance to the Nazi occupation of America.
Right.
And it's brilliant. And the series looks absolutely incredible. And it's behind a pay barrier of Amazon Prime, but that's like when Daredevil came out, you said that's something that might make you consider getting Netflix. That's the sort of thing that would make me want to get Amazon Prime properly. Like I know it's like £80 a year, but if you still work it out monthly, it's not too bad. I just wish they'd offer a monthly payment thing rather than just that lump.
You've got to pay as a lump, have you?
Yeah, I think you have to pay the full $79.
I look at Prime Day today, there was absolutely nothing there that persuaded me I should sign up for the 30-day trial, let alone the full thing.
However, if you are a member of Amazon Prime and you're listening and you are buying something Prime Day, make sure you use our affiliate link. Because, some people will.
Yeah, they will.
Some
people find some old tat.
Star Wars Blu-ray box set was on there for £33, which is quite good. But yeah, so that's looking very exciting. As is Heroes Reborn. Because we've talked before about my recent introduction to Heroes, watching for all 4 series. And I only really got into that because my partner loved it so much, and
Want to watch it again?
Well, she didn't watch any of them with me.
Oh.
Well, she watched a couple with me, I think, at some point. She must have done, because I didn't spend that long away from her. But the biggest issue was she was aghast that I'd never watched it. It was like, oh, okay.
Aghast, I tell you.
Well, she kept going on about, I don't watch the Star Trek films because Zachary Quinto, he's just Skylar to me. Sylar, not Skylar. Skylar's Breaking Bad. Sylar.
Yep.
I can't see him in anything else. I was like, oh yeah, but he's really good in Star Trek. Oh no, you don't know. You've not seen Heroes. I just put a stop to that kind of thing. I watched it. The first teaser trailer was just Horn Glass's man watching a solar eclipse and it playing the sting of music, and it was good. The second one was like, where are the heroes? It was sort of suggesting that post the end of Series 4, where Claire jumped off the big wheel and exposed the world, or exposed to the world the fact that the heroes existed, it suggested that they'd all disappeared somehow. The newest trailer clearly states that they're being hunted and killed.
Yeah.
And they're being hunted and killed by Archer. Not Archer, Chuck. Off of the TV show. Chuck.
Zachary Levi?
Yeah, he's the bad guy. And so he's
Sorry, I thought like his name was Chuck again.
Yeah. No, so yeah, Zachary Levi is the bad guy. And they said that's quite a big deal because obviously everybody knows him for Chuck. And so he's going around and he walks into one which is like a support group for people with powers, and he just shoots all of them. So it's quite an interesting twist on, whereas the paper company in the original series was more a case of, well, we need to protect the public from these people. This is now, well, more and more of these people are showing up, and there's another event which is creating more, but now people are getting violent. So there's returning characters of Parkman,
Mahinder Suresh's in it again.
In there, the young lad who could control things by touching them, like fucking stupid power that was. But I can't remember, Mia, I think his name was, or something like that.
The son?
Yeah.
I know who you mean, I've forgotten the name as well.
His power was the stupidest power in that show.
Like
it was the most
rip off a bank machine.
Most plot convenient thing ever. Like, I can make a phone call. How'd you do that? I just touched. I can talk to machines. Right, well, talking to machines doesn't fix them. Like, I'm talking to you now, but you've still got a broken leg. That's it.
Bends in the middle, right?
Yeah. Who else is in there? Oh, and what's his name? The Japanesey guy. Hero. He was in there briefly as well. So obviously there might just be cameo roles. They might just be there as a lynch back to the original series. All we know is that
all of them need jobs and need to put food on the table, so they're going to be in it.
Yeah, well, everybody who's doing other stuff or who was killed off, obviously, as part of the series, isn't back. But I like the fact that there's something there, but also doing new. However, despite those, it's not the most exciting TV series trailer at Comic-Con because Ash vs. the Evil Dead showed off, and it was groovy. I think that's fair to say.
Groovy.
I've watched this trailer at least 30 times.
Well done.
I fucking love it so much. I love The Evil Dead. The Evil Dead is one... Do you know I say a lot on the show? Oh, I love Dead. Oh, I'm a big fan of this.
You have diminished your
The Evil Dead,
quota of loving things somewhat.
The Evil Dead, I bought both The Evil Dead 1 and 2 as an Necronomicon editions where you had the book.
Yep.
Even though the second one was pretty much the same book as the first one, but it had the second film in it. I have 7 DVD copies of The Evil Dead 1.
Right.
I loved the remake. I've got the extended bootcut edition of 3. I've got pretty much every version of everything they've ever brought out, including the short films, and I adore them. When they announced they were going to do Ash vs. Evil Dead as a TV series, I was very concerned. Because despite it still having the creative team behind Evil Dead and Bruce Campbell back, it was still... Well, Bruce Campbell hasn't done much good recently, other than cameos in Marvel movies.
He was in Burn Notice, which was relatively popular for a while.
But he's just... But this is the thing. What they've done with this series, they've actually embraced the fact that he's a shit actor. And they're playing it for the fact that he's a shit actor. And they're playing for it with being old and fat. And they just do it as he's living a life years later and suddenly the Deadites are coming for him. And it's full of good humour. Like the first scene of it plays on one of the first where he's putting the chainsaw wrist straps on to hold it on, and it's just him pulling all the things, and then it pulls out. He's just got a girdle on, and just stuff like that all the way through. It's like, this is going to be a really funny horror series at a time when we talked about this last week. Some of the best horror is coming out on TV. You know, you've got Scream, you've got Hannibal, you've got Bates Motel. This is the perfect time to release it. Talking of that, you know, like The Walking Dead obviously is a big one. I noticed a DVD in Morrison's today, which, you know, I do like my cheap parody movies and knockoffs. I do love, particularly, The Walking Deceased. There.
Oh, yeah. Well,
The Walking Deceased. It says, the best zombie parody I've ever seen. Imagine a world where the dead are smarter than the living, apparently, they say.
Yeah.
So,
isn't that Idiocracy?
Pretty much. And this has got less Luke Wilson. It was Luke Wilson in that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a great time. And Ashes Evil Dead, if you haven't seen the trailer, people at home, please do so, because it's great. Even if you don't know what Evil Dead is, watch it, because it's still incredibly funny and cool. It's made me want to go back and play the PS2 games again, Fistful of Boomstick and the other one. I can't remember the name of. One of them you had a little dwarf man you could just throw around, which I was like, you know, my opinion of dwarves.
Dwarf tossing, yeah.
So, yeah. That was good. There was a little bit of gaming stuff.
There was.
What did we have gaming stuff on?
Well, let's use the Evil Dead to segue into Black Ops 3 Zombie Mode, shall we? Because there was a trailer for that.
There was, which is a smart move, because it is the most popular Call of Duty thing in the world. Like, more popular than actually the story mode.
Yeah, well, it's not hard, is it?
Because why they've still not just done a zombie game is surprising. I genuinely half expected the big announcement to be, we're not doing Black Ops 3, we're just doing
Zombie
zombies,
Warfare.
and it'll be every zombie map we've ever done remastered, plus a whole new single player campaign. But we've got something that's gone back to the 40s, I think, again, for the gangsters. We've got, who was in there? Heather Graham, Jeff Goldblum,
Ron
Perlman, and...
What was it?
There was someone else, but I can't remember who it was. But yeah, it's following their tradition of having celebrities playing roles. But yeah, sort of like a gangsters versus zombies thing, which is, it worked well for the Alcatraz Mob of the Dead thing. So yeah, it all looks very flashy and all looks very good. It makes me want to buy Black Ops 3 just to play it, but I'm kind of refused to buy a game just for a bonus mode. And that bonus mode might end up being like it is in Advanced Warfare, where you have to complete the game before you can...
So you unlock it.
And we should do in World at War, if I remember rightly.
Yep.
And I don't really want to have to... Well, we'll do that, but I'm certainly not buying a game for an add-on mode.
But what if you could buy the game and a fridge?
A what?
The game and a fridge.
Well, if the fridge is... How many cans of Coke will the fridge hold, Rob?
I will tell you.
Because it would have to hold at least 9 cans to be qualified as a fridge in my book.
Well, maybe we'll struggle. Let's see. Where are I? So this is the collector's edition.
So this is based on the Percola machine from the modes.
Now, where are the details? You've got all the other stuff in it, season pass, all that sort of junk you would expect with a special edition. And now I'm struggling to find the bit about the fridge, which is really helpful. Here we go. Right, it can hold up to 12 ounce cans, which are 330ml.
Yeah. So 12 cans of Coke.
You would get away with it. However, the special edition is $199.
So that'd be £199 pretty much.
Normally that's how it works out.
And it'll be game exclusive.
But I'd hate to assume, but yeah, probably.
Can we just jump in our time machine
that
we built in that episode of the Holocaust comedy show and go back in time and persuade Bethesda to do a Nuka-Cola fridge edition of Fallout 4 instead? Because I would pay £200 for that. Absolutely would.
If it was a proper fridge, then
if it was like that, I mean that is going to be a proper fridge.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So if they did that,
a proper mini fridge.
Yeah. If they did a Nuka-Cola fridge that I could fit 6 standing up bottles in.
Yep.
And then give me some stickers that I can put on my bottles of Coke and have Nuka-Cola bottles in my fridge, I'd pay £210 for that.
No.
Because I'd love it. And I think that's the thing, like, maybe I'm not overwhelmed by the price because I'm not into Call of Duty as much. And I've also got the Giant as well, Zombies map, which is a fan favourite that's coming back with the original voice cast as well. But
so that's the Juggernog edition, as they're calling it, collector's edition for Black Ops 3.
Okay, well, that's all good, I suppose. What else was going? Because it was one of the games that got me very excited.
There is. It goes back to what we were talking about before, Doctor Who.
Right.
The Lego Dimensions trailer.
So we knew they were doing a Doctor Who add-on pack. This trailer suggests there's a lot to that add-on pack in terms of story mode and characters. giant Cyberman and the Emperor Dalek was in there. I really liked it. I like the fact they got Peter Capaldi's voice as well.
Yeah.
Like that's important.
Yeah, definitely.
And I like the fact that Gandalf couldn't deal with the idea of time travel. That was hilarious to me. But yeah, I'm more excited about Lego Dimensions Doctor Who than I am about actual Doctor Who.
Yeah,
I
can understand why.
I'm just glad I'm not in a job where I can afford Doctor Who add-on packs for Lego Dimensions. I can't even afford Lego Dimensions. I'm at the point where I would probably consider getting a credit card
just to get Lego
to
Dimensions.
buy Lego Dimensions so I could play Doctor Who, Portal and The Simpsons all together, which they did in one of the scenes in the trailer. And I just thought, oh god, it's so amazing. Because it's, as we've said before, it's the perfect design game for me. It's like somebody's literally crept into my bedroom at night, looked around and gone, right, he's got Doctor Who there, he's got Simpsons tapped out on his phone, he's got that up there, he's got a Portal poster. Right, let's put that in the game, people. Put it all in the game. He loves all this. But, it's going to be... I kind of hope it comes out and it's a terrible game.
Just so you don't have to buy it.
So I can then go, oh, well, that's a relief. Cause
I feel justified not buying it now.
Yeah, because I can sit there and go, yeah, it's awful, so I'm not going to have to pay the money out for it. Or it will drop in price really quickly, I can still buy it but get it quite cheap. But that's the other thing, like, it's coming out at roughly the same time as Guitar Hero and Rock Band, all of which are going to be about £100 a piece. And it's like, I can't justify any of them, let alone all of them. So it will have to come down to, I think, a choice of one. And at the moment, it might be Rock Band just because it supports previous instruments. And I might be able to just get the game on its own.
Yeah.
But my mum will have to buy me Lego Dimensions for Christmas, obviously. I'll just say that the kids will want it as well, and we'll have it as a joint present.
Yeah.
Bang!
Works of fatherhood.
Well, yes. Last Christmas we got different board games from us. So we got the Marvel Legendary, I showed you all the expansion packs, which was a good move because we play it all together. But yeah, we will see. But no, that trailer was nice. And it had every Doctor in it as well, including the War Doctor.
It did.
So I can have Lego John Hurt now. Yeah. Which actually...
is the dream.
Thinking about it, I've already had. Because Lego Indiana Jones 2 had John Hurt's character from that. So I have already had that.
They had Crystal Skull in there, didn't they? Speaking of your mum...
I beg your pardon?
Yeah.
Don't you make me cry,
wow.
Rob Cranston, if that's your real name.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston did a mum joke at one of the Q&As.
Yeah.
He looked a little bit uncomfortable himself at the end of it.
I'm glad he did look uncomfortable.
He kind of realised what he'd done.
And I'm glad
it wasn't down the pub with his mates. This was a Q&A being filmed in front of a large amount of people.
And after doing it, he sort of looks to the side, and then he does a mic drop, as if someone had gone, drop the mic. Yeah. And he went... yeah.
Aaron Paul's at the side still going, drop the mic.
And then he kind of just looks uncomfortable for a minute, where he's just like, oh, yeah, that was a shitty thing to do. Which it was a really shitty thing to do. But I don't think... I mean, they showed enough of the kid afterwards to show that he
was laughing,
as a joke, but...
I don't think he expected that as a reply from Bryan Cranston.
I didn't expect that. No. I wouldn't expect that from a man of his age to be quite so base. But... then he was also promoting, and I can't remember, was it like Supercastle or something, or Super Mansion? He's doing a Creative Robot Chicken in the superhero series, and he's voicing the main character. So I kind of feel that maybe if that's what the Q&A was promoting,
he wants to play up to it a bit.
Maybe, being a sort of sarcastic, jokey type would have worked well. And he's not come out of it badly. I was watching...
I think it's hard not to like Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
I think people have realised that he is generally quite a... not surly, that's the wrong word, but straight-talking, likeable person.
Yes.
Especially since Breaking Bad took off, because he's featured much more prominently, a lot more news outlets want to talk to him, a lot more interviews, a lot more chances for him to be him. Yeah. Whereas before he was just Malcolm's dad in Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was in that show, yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, but yeah, it seemed to be a bigger deal than maybe it should have been.
Yeah.
There is that moment, the first time you see it, you go, okay, that's kind of amusing.
I mean, if that had been, say, Jean de Bon was there to promote Speed 3, and he went, I visited your mum while I was in Miami, everybody would be like, oh, sleazy fucker. But because it's Bryan Cranston, some people who get away with it, it's like, oh, you cheeky old bastard, you.
Playful thump on the shoulder.
Speaking of Breaking Bad, just reminded me, I watched the entire series of the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt
today.
All 13 episodes back to back.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be doing some work, but it was very good.
Kimmy Schmidt instead.
It's the same people who made 30 Rock, which is one of my favourite comedy shows ever. Tina Fey and her writing partner. Stars Ellie Kemper as a woman who's been locked in a bunker for 15 years by a radical preacher who tells them that there's been an apocalypse to keep them safe. And then they get released and she moves to New York, and it's that perfect setup of clash of culture. So everything she's talking about has a 90s reference. So I love that straight away. She's only ever read 2 books, and it was all these weird things. But I loved it. But the Breaking Bad link is it's got Dean Norrell. Was it Dean Norrell who played Hank in Breaking Bad? The bald guy who's also in Under the Dome.
Yeah, been in a few things.
Yeah, he plays a straight coach for a gay actor character, and it's just perfect because he's so masculine and so aggressive. Like he's got 4 cinema seats, and he sat in seat 2, and he's like, right, come to the cinema, sit down. He sits down next to me, and goes, no! Hits him out the seat, goes, you always leave a gap! And it's just like every time he picks a drink up, he's like slamming it out of his hand. And then by the end of it, he goes to a bar, and he's got an audition for Entourage 2.
Right.
And he's like trying the line out, and he's like, no, I don't believe it. He goes, I don't know. And he nails it perfectly, and then like this buff bloke, his girlfriend is there, he goes, are you hitting on my girlfriend? And he goes, do you think I am hitting on your girlfriend? He goes, yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. He goes, I've made it. And then the guy who said it's got a goat head on. Yeah. He just takes it off and he goes, you couldn't do it until you realised you could do it. There is no Entourage 2. It was just Dean Norris, I think his name is.
Norris.
But it was just such a great role for him. But that whole series, anybody who's got Netflix, watch it. It's so weird in times. There's a conversation. They're on a bus to go to this town, and basically before the credit sequence, there's like a weird thing where anything can happen. So it could be an alien could come down and shoot someone. It would be fine. So they're on this bus, and the bus driver walks down and went, I had a good journey. And you're the bus driver. And all you hear is like they've obviously gone off to the verge. Yeah. And you got horns honking and screecher tyres. And he was like, well, you wouldn't say that if I was an airline pilot, would you? Like, they're allowed to walk around and do whatever they want, but no, I'm a bus driver. It was just like, there's a turn! And then it just cuts to the credits. It's just these weird little things where they're just like, well, we can do these odd moments, and that's...
Yeah.
Well, like, they go to a bar, and they're practicing this thing of if you act in a certain way, people will just accept you. So if you act posh, people think you're posh.
Yeah.
So he's got a pizza box with pictures stuck on it, and he's made a keyboard as a laptop, and she's just got a banana that she goes to make a phone call, and he just looks at her, so she just starts texting on it. And the woman comes over and said, this is for paying customers only. And they were like, oh, what? And speaking foreign language, she goes, oh no, it's okay. Brings them some water. Yeah. Ellie Kemper's character puts the banana down, goes to get a drink, and the banana makes a text receive noise. Nice. And she just stares at it. And it's little things like that that are almost like a live action Family Guy moments when Family Guy does those very cool little things. And so it's peppered with them. Like, for example, her name is Kimmy, which is Korean for penis, Kim Mi.
Yeah.
And her best friend is the Korean guy called Dong.
Right.
And it's like, we've both got names that mean dick. It's just silly little childish things that are in there, and then very clever, very subtle little... Oh, it's such a good series. And the theme tune... Do you remember when there was that black guy who reported a crime on the news, and then someone auto-tuned it and made a song out of it? And
which occasion was this? There's been several.
There have, but the first time that happened, it was basically something like, damn! And then somebody took all that quote and made a little song out of it.
Oh, I think I remember.
Well, they do that for the thing. It's the black guy who watched them getting freed from the hole, and they took that and then sampled that as auto-tune, and that's the theme tune. And it's so fucking catchy. Yeah. It's only like 45-second song, but I already want it to be my ringtone whenever I ring someone. Unbreakable. Damn. Women are marathon. It's also a really good feminist piece as well. Yeah. But yeah, talk about feminists. Let's talk about Jade Raymond.
Yeah. Okay, that's seamless. Well done.
It is.
Jade Raymond, her formerly of Ubisoft. She's joined EA.
Now, if people don't really remember the name, let's help you. She was the woman who did Assassin's Creed, and then when Ubisoft showed her picture, loads of gamers were like, yeah, fucking yeah, she's sexy as fuck, I'd have her, and totally undermined the fact that she was a really good creative drive for that series. And she went quiet for a long time. She was involved in projects. She did Splinter Cell, not Conviction.
Blacklist.
Yeah. She worked heavily on that, which didn't do very well, but it was a very good game. And now she's over at EA.
Yep.
Heading up a new studio.
Yep, called Motive.
And what is their motive?
Well,
is it to create new IP?
Well, this is what we're not sure of. Because the term which has been so often used in this story is Uncharted Star Wars game. So, Uncharted off of PlayStation, plus Star Wars off of Star Wars.
Because one of the creative leads of Uncharted is also part of this team, isn't it?
Yes.
And also female.
Yes.
I think her name was Amy something, but I can't remember her name now.
I'm just looking for a surname, because I can't remember her surname either, which is bad, because it makes for a terrible podcasting.
No, it's like us doing a podcast makes a terrible podcast.
There is that. That is
as long as
true.
we're better than the Player 2 cast, which isn't difficult, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's right, Ian and
Amy Henning,
Nicky.
there we go.
Amy
Henning, that was one.
So, having two powerhouses of this thing, and also coming off of massive franchises. But yeah, there has always been talk of VA working on lots of Star Wars games because, of course, they've got the license to.
Yeah.
And there
was 1313, which was canned
and looked amazing.
May now be actually the basis for what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, and I hope it is. And I hope it is also related to your keyring there, with your little Lego Boba Fett.
Oh, I thought you meant the Terminator brain thing I got from my loot crate.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, I'd quite like to see... I mean, I remember playing Star Wars Bounty Hunter, which was Boba Fett game on PS2. I really like that. Or was it Jango Fett in that one? I think it was Jango Fett in that,
There was one which I remember playing on, must have been the original Xbox, Star Wars Bounty Hunter. That wasn't one of the Fets. That was a completely separate character.
Right.
It was pretty good. I think I was one of the few people who liked Republic Commando as well.
Which is apparently what... oh, Christ, what game was it? It was coming out. They said they were basing it on Republic Commando's design. It might have been the new Halo. There was a first-person shooter that's coming out, and they said one of the big inspirations... I think it was because of the different storylines, because that was something in Republic Commando, wasn't it?
And you had the four-man team as well.
Yeah, so I think they said there was they looked at that and took some of the strong elements of that for it. But, it's great to get more Star Wars games. Like, Battlefront looks amazing.
Well, Jade Raymond's going to be overseeing Viscera Games as well. They did Battlefield Hardline and Dead Space. So, yeah.
Yeah, happy
days.
I'd like another game from them, because I loved Hardline. Loved it.
But the other thing that came out in the press release is that this new studio Motive is going to work closely with the BioWare guys.
Right.
They're obviously at the moment doing Mass Effect Andromeda, but having their knowledge, skills on hand, for lack of a better term, in Montreal may play into what they do with the Star Wars game, potentially. So, again, influences are Uncharted through Amy Hennig. Potentially influences from the BioWare team as well. So it'd be interesting to see what comes of it. And obviously we said Jade Raymond was a co-creator of Assassin's Creed, which maybe lost its way a little bit as time has passed, but certainly initially was...
Well, when she was still involved heavily, they were great. It was when she left that they got worse.
There's lots of elements of popular games they could draw on through respective experience.
Well, if you took a roguish hero and put him in a Star Wars thing, you've got Boba Fett or you've got Han Solo. And we know that they're
you can create something completely separate.
See, I don't want them to. I want... Because of this whole phase films that they're doing...
But Knights of the Old Republic was completely separate, and that was amazing.
But we're talking now about things like Star Wars, where they're doing the Rogue One thing, and they're doing the film with... Like, they said they're doing a Han Solo spin-off. Well, they need to be working on a game. Why not do a Han Solo prequel game, where it's him fighting as a rebel? I mean, you imagine Elite Dangerous, where you're in your ship and you're smuggling goods around a Star Wars universe.
Maybe.
It could be good. But
it's interesting to see where they go with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Star Wars, is it does lend itself well to anything you want to do, really. It's a great franchise for that. But yeah, now, let's talk about something very sad. With Mr Iwata. Has passed from Nintendo.
He has.
Not very old at all. He was only 55, I think.
55, yeah.
I was genuinely stunned by this. I read this in a car first thing in the morning. I'd opened up Twitter because I was bored. And the trending topic was Satoru Iwata had passed away, and it was the quote from Miyamoto, just sort of saying about how he was genuinely stunned and that he wants to keep making games that would have made him happy. Because the point of Iwata was he was massively in charge of Nintendo, but he was the sort of person who genuinely played those games. He loved games. He wanted to work for Nintendo to make games and to enjoy playing games. And I think that's the thing. Like through the Nintendo Directs that he'd done, he suddenly became not just a name on a credit, but he became the person who'd held the bananas.
Yeah.
You know, like I every time I see a bunch of bananas, I think of that.
That picture was used a lot in obituaries.
And I saw a lot of people just holding bananas and just saying that this one's for you. It's like almost like the Jesuit Charlie holding a pencil, everybody holding bananas, which is like a little tribute. Then a rainbow appeared above Nintendo's headquarters, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's the rainbow road to heaven." It's like, that's a bit much, but it is a nice thought that people can take some sort of comfort. And they're both from Japanese accounts as well. But yeah, it cannot be understated how important he was to what Nintendo became. The DS and the Wii came in right under his stewardship.
Yeah.
And while the Wii U...
Well, the DS particularly was spoken of because so many people were so dismissive of it when he announced it. It went on to become, was it their most popular handheld?
Most popular,
by quite a margin.
Even now, in Japan, the original DS outsells the Xbox One. So it's not gone away. And the fact that even with rampant piracy with the R4 cards, they still sell more games than any other handheld device. I mean, from an actual customer point of view, it's huge. And yeah, it's kind of like the thing that shocked me most about it was not so much his age, but just how active he'd been up until now. It's kind of similar to what we said about Christopher Lee, really, because his acting career didn't really stop.
No.
I mean, Mr. Iwata was at as many of the Nintendo Directs, as many shows as possible until very, very recently. And when he wasn't heavily involved in E3, there were questions about whether his health was good or not. But, yeah, I was genuinely jealous. I put it across both of the Twitter things, and the amount people liked immediately or responded immediately. It's the right... Social media is the right kind of place, really, for when somebody in that circle dies. It's hard to find people that don't have some sympathy. I told my partner about it, and she was like, "Who's he?" I was like, "Well," she was like, "Well, give me somebody I can compare it to in terms of like somebody I would know." I was like, "Michael J. Fox, maybe Michael J. Fox, or Steven Spielberg, or someone who's created stuff that's beloved by people."
Spielberg,
yeah. And I was thinking because that's something, and I went maybe even a bit like Robin Williams actually, because it's. If Ron Williams had just died, because obviously it was more tragic the way that he died, but if he had just died, I dare say he'd probably had the same sort of effect on the generation as Iwata has, but I think Iwata was just less known for what he'd worked on as a person.
Yeah, outside of the gaming community, probably.
Generally, I mean, and I think it's a fair point actually. A lot of it, I really love Bioshock Infinite, but I couldn't tell you the two lead art directors.
No, I couldn't.
And it doesn't matter to me, because I know that game was made by a team that love making games. And that's the thing, like you get these people. So when, say, James Horner died, people knew who James Horner was because people know movie composers are. Whereas with that, it was sort of a bit scaled back. But yeah, I there's no jokes to be made, really. It's incredibly sad, and we obviously wish his family and colleagues the very best. That's the appropriate thing to say. Right. So, while we're miserable, let's talk about MGPX, which is a couple of days from now, as we record it. Hopefully, if I can get this out tonight, like I did last week. It won't be tonight, I've got a design advert for work. But I'll get it out tomorrow morning. So when you're listening to this, if you're listening to this, you might be on the way to MGPX. Ooh. Or you might be at work on Friday, not quite sure whether you want to go to MGPX. Well, you should. And here is for why. Because we will be there.
We will.
And that's enough of a reason, frankly. There will also be Player 2 casts, we've already mentioned. People from other podcasts will be there. There's going to be a whole retro area, gaming areas, competitions. There's going to be a raffle with over £1,000 worth of stuff in there, including a prize that I donated, which is the Loot Crate exclusive Batman Joker figure I've got upstairs. I'm donating that. I figured it's fair to give something. The people from the Player 2 cast have donated a copy of Love Letter that you can win. There are games and T-shirts and mouse mats and stuff, and a PS4 console. And you can win that just by paying £1 through their PayPal link. So, even if you can't make it, put yourself in for a ticket, because it's worth it. Just head to sugarpodcast.com/MGPX, I believe, and you can find out how to get a ticket. But let's talk about people who are definitely going. We know that Postman Gav is going. And we're definitely going, and Kev, Steve and Anna will definitely going. And Dean will aim and shoot. Remember him right properly, so he's definitely going because he's so important to organising the gaming stuff. And Simon Lynn, who can't make it, is also one of the key drivers behind getting it going. But it's looking very exciting. I've been talking with the guys about what they want them to put on, and it does seem like, unlike last year's Shambles, which was a shambles because of badly organised elements of the show, us thinking that the live show was going to be more of a draw than it was, and the awful Real Holocaust live element that will not be happening again.
No.
Even if we're dragged up on stage, we won't do it.
No.
We won't do it. Unless you donate to charity. If there's enough people want it, that they'll pay to charity.
That would need to be a pretty significant Kickstarter to make me record a live show on Saturday.
Well, we are doing a live show on Saturday.
Yeah, but it's not
on
back
stage.
in the game one.
Well, it sort of will be.
Well, I know
We're doing one.
You know what I mean.
We're doing one that I haven't told you about.
Yeah.
I'm telling you about it now.
Well,
do you remember when we went to Eurogame, we did the pubcast?
We did.
We're doing another one.
Yeah.
We're doing a pubcast from MGPX. And I think that's the best way to do it. I think if we're going to do a live show, it should be for everyone. So we will actually broadcast live from MGPX at some indeterminate time. It'll probably be when the board game element's on. So it'll be a bit quieter. We've already spoken to people from Player 2 Cast. So they're going to come on board, and we might just talk about the board games that we've got there going on. And we might interview some people, walk around with the iPad, say, hello, Dean, how are you? And he'll go, I'm very well. He's a lovely man. I really like Dean. He's one of those people, I genuinely would call him friend seems a bit weird when you only met somebody a few times, but every time I know I'm going to see him, I get quite excited about seeing him. Not sexually excited. No, I just mean he's the sort of person I look forward to hearing how he's getting on.
Every time that you meet, you skip a heartbeat.
Jesus wept. We will be doing a live show. It will probably be it may be like 3 little 15-minute ones. I don't know. We'll be putting them out via Spreaker because I've got the app all set up.
Right.
And like I said, we did it from a London pub, which is very noisy, and that worked quite well, actually. It's quality. So it all hinges on being able to get Wi-Fi of a suitable strength. But now I've got an iPhone, we can pair to that, or even maybe use the iPhone to stream from, actually. I might see if I can get that set up this week. If you see a little test stream come on, then ignore that one. But we will tweet before we go live, and then we're going to do a live show like that. But we won't be on stage.
No.
We'll be in amongst the people where we belong, enjoying it properly.
Good.
Doing our stuff.
Not doing it on stage.
Refuse. No, there's
no
need
refuse.
for it. There's no need for it. But if they donate a lot of money, then we would.
It has to be significant.
But we're not going to mention it at the time.
No.
We're just going to if people listen to this, which is pretty much Gav. And the people from that other podcast.
I'm going to sell my trousers again
lots
this year.
Of time. I'm not going to sell my trousers, although
I will. On the bus for no trousers on.
Well, last year the plan was to have a spare pair of trousers, and I forgot to take them. They're in the hotel room, but I forgot to take them to the showroom. So the idea was I'd do the show without the trousers rather. Oh Christ!
Jesus, that's a wonder they're letting us back.
So that was the original intention, was to do the thing. I tell you what we could do. We could do live X-Man or Sex-Man.
We could maybe
go around and go, you, X-Man or Sex-Man, and use the microphone that's there to record a live podcast of X-Man or Sex-Man, because that was very popular.
Was it?
One of the things when I've asked people what they liked, that part of the Marvel show where we did X-Man or Sex-Man was very popular. So maybe I could do a new one based on Star Wars, like Star Wars character, or Star Wars or Star Whores.
Yeah.
Are these actual escorts advertising on Twitter, or are they characters in the Star Wars universe? I don't know. We will come up with something. But Yeah, it's going to be exciting, and there's drink, and you don't have to stay all the time if you don't want to stay all the time. You don't have to pay a penny if you don't want to pay a penny. You can just come along, hang out for an hour, and go again. If you're in the Peterborough area, that's better because you haven't got to travel very far. But if you're not in the area, there are lots of rail and bus links to the city because it's a city.
It is,
and it's on the Great North East Railway.
It's probably worth pointing out it's all happening at the Brewery Tap, which is across the boulevard from the train station and across another road from the bus station. Yeah. So you probably couldn't get more convenient.
If you get there
and buy a car park.
Yeah, so, both Rob and I are now going to offer the opportunity that if you want to come along, but you're a little bit nervy, and do you know what? It's quite hard walking into a large room of people you've not met sometimes. We'll come out and meet you from wherever you are. If you're at the train station, you don't really want to walk across the road on your own. Walk over and say hello.
There's a bridge.
Have a chat.
You don't walk across the road directly.
You're still across it,
I suppose.
It's all about you. So if you're going, we want to talk to you. We want to know about you. We want to hear about you. We want to get some feedback from you. And if you want to buy us a drink, that would be very nice. But we won't expect it, apart from Gav. Because if Gav doesn't buy us a drink, he's not on our pub toys team. That's the entry point. He has to buy the drink. He's already going to make the team significantly worse by joining. Because I've seen him play Spyfall. He can't even play Spyfall. That's something else we'll be playing, Spyfall. So if you go in, take a smartphone and a charger. We'll make sure you play Spyfall because it's amazing. But no, I love Gav. He's such a lovable rogue. I feel bad actually because last time he came over, I wasn't really feeling very well, and then I was supposed to do a live E3 show for Mature Gamer. I didn't really want to do that either because I was feeling lousy, and I'd had an argument with a couple of friends locally, and just didn't really feel like it. But Gav said, "Oh, you're still free tonight?" And I didn't feel like saying no, so I said yes, and I also said yes to doing the live E3 show. So Gav sat in for that, and I didn't really get to chat to him as much as I would like to have done. And at one point, he said he hadn't played something, so I just smacked him on the head like that because he was right next to me, which I've not done to you yet, which is lucky. But then I thought, basically, he came round, I talked to loads of other people while he sat next to me, I hit him and then he left, which is not the nicest of visits. But, yeah, so I do love you, Gav, even though you're a giant Despicable Me character. Doesn't matter. Child version of him would be hilarious. Not his kids. Obviously. I'm just saying, I'd like to have seen him as a child because I bet that would look brilliant.
I think he probably had hair then.
In Minions, Gru is in it as a child, and so I want to see how much he looked like.
How much that compares.
Yeah. MGPX on Saturday from 1 p.m. Until late, basically. I think 11:30 is when they're going for food, aren't they? So
something
that's
like that.
About when we're leaving because that's when the last bus back to Speech is. Because after that, it's dangerous to take a bus through Norfolk. And we do have to go for a little bit of Norfolk, unfortunately, to get back, I think. Depending which way it comes in.
Comes in via Tesco, so I think we're safe.
I think it might just skirt around the edge. But even then...
You can see the border from the bus window.
At that point, that's when the tyres start getting set on fire and rolled into the roads and force us off. So any time after 12:30, we will be murdered. And I don't want to be murdered, not for nothing.
No, I'd rather not.
So, unless somebody's going who's driving, and you could drive us back, that would be amazing, because, frankly, the bus is a big target, and a car would be a small target. And between the three of us, we could defend the car, but I couldn't defend the bus. There's too many entry points. At that time of night, it's not going to be full of people. You're not got an army. It'd be awful. But yeah, so come to MGPX and say hello. Or tweet us. If you can't make it, tweet us and feel like you're part of it. We might Periscope as well from it. So you can have a look around. I'll take a tour around on Periscope or something like that as well. But yeah, we will be interactive and chatty. And so, yeah, you can look forward to that. I think it's going to be fun. But yeah, that's about it for this week.
Yeah.
It's good. I love it when you click on your running order and it shows on my running order where your cursor is. I sometimes think there's a tiny little red ant on there.
Yeah.
So I might have to change your colour when you show up. What colour do I show up as on yours? Do I show up as
same
as well?
Red.
Oh, so if I select whole load, does the whole load go red?
The hot text goes pink.
Oh, that's okay. Blue on mine, red on yours. That's like Halo colours. I can deal with that.
Okay.
Red v blue. So, I hope you've enjoyed this week's show. We're getting some good feedback on the new format. Obviously, it will be a little bit kind of sizable chunks will vary because some things need more talking about than others.
They do.
But it's nice to have people coming back and saying that they like the fact that it's not just this. It's chat about that, a lot more casual. I do promise I will put more editing into it as time goes on. Just at the moment I haven't got the time. It's either edit it really well and then it be out a week after we record, or edit it as fairly as possible and then get it out the next day. And at the moment I just haven't got the time. So there are plans. I spoke to Rob about what the plans are for Let's Talk About sections, and we'll put them into play as soon as we can. Until then, if you like the new format and you've reviewed us before, maybe consider re-reviewing us on iTunes to update your opinion based on the new format. Because what I don't like is when I'm looking at a podcast and all the reviews are from like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
They could all be 5-star reviews, but it's like, well, yeah, I like it when Dr. Hamhock did that thing. Well, Dr. Hamhock's not on anymore.
No.
And frankly...
He was on the USC Challenge the other day.
Was he? Well, I don't know where he is. You asked him to come to MGPX. He said no. I said please. I said please, and Darley went, answer your messages. I was like, what? What's this? No, I said, what messages? Nothing. Didn't answer his message. Bloody thing. I know he's annoyed me because I forgot to put the song in last week that he sent me. I forgot. I might have to put it on the end of this episode or something just to placate him. It was about Batman. So, we're not really talking about Batman this week, so it wouldn't be relevant to reuse. But I'll put it on the end, so you can listen to that in a minute. But yeah, rate reviews on iTunes based on the new content. It would be nice to get some proper feedback. And again, if you don't like it, give us a 1-star review and say why. Don't just give us a 1-star review and write the word hot dogs are evil or something, because frankly, I agree. And you shouldn't give 1 star something I agree with. Tell a friend to listen as well. If you're driving down to MGPX, plug a speaker into your phone, broadcast it to the whole car, even if it's just you in there. Because when you pull up at traffic lights, people hear this bit maybe. Yeah. And they'll be like, oh, that sounds very interesting. Yeah. I might visit the website at www.lolacourse.co.uk and read the blog posts that we write. Or they might go to Twitter at We Are the Lola Course with a letter R in place of the word R, or following me at Bouncy with an H after second B,
or me at Rob McGregor 35,
or Dalek at the Voice of Sex. I mean, they might hear that and decide to do that, or even better, they might be at the traffic lights. There might be some traffic that blocked the yellow box. So the traffic lights now changed to green because, of course, we've been talking for a couple of minutes now. Traffic lights changed to green, but they can't actually go yet. Because the yellow box is, you can't stop there, and there's no clear exit point yet. So the window's still down, so their interest has been piqued. But at the same time, they're listening, but they're bored of their surroundings, so they're just browsing Amazon. And then they go, oh, I want to buy this paddling pool because it's very warm. And when I go home, I would quite like to be able to jump naked into a paddling pool because I'm a 47-stone man. And then we'll go, well, you people at home, maybe you'd like to use our affiliate link. Go to the website, along the top there's a little drop down box, you can click there, order stuff from Amazon. It helps us with hosting costs. It doesn't cost you a penny. They could do that, and then they might even do that. Or they might want a loot crate. What was in your loot crate this month?
I got a model Terminator T800 head.
Right.
Really cool Optimus Prime t-shirt in the style of the Tron promotional poster, which I know you are sad. I got keyring, the Terminator's brain, and a host of other cool things.
It's the inhibitor chip. Was it the inhibitor chip?
No, it was his actual brain chip, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had a name though because they took it out.
The chocolate bar.
Yeah, which you could buy those made out of metal at Eurogamer, and I didn't like them as much as your one. But yeah, so do you think that was worth your £17 a month that you pay?
Yeah, I'm happy with what I've received in my last 2 crates.
So if you're happy,
if you're a happy person,
if you're happy, if you're at home and you're listening to how happy he is, and you think I'd quite like a mystery box to be thrown over my side gate once a month, or posted through an open window, which you're not supposed to do.
No.
According to the rules. I've looked at Yodel's secret documents. Like if you're an employee of anywhere, you have like rules and regulations. Yodel have got like a checklist of things you can't do with parcels. So they're things like don't put them in bins, don't put them on roofs, don't leave them where you can see them, don't put them on top of plant pots. But then there's things like you can't leave them in caravans or in sheds that haven't got a closable door or an alcove. And it's like, where are you supposed to put? Like, you literally can't leave it anywhere. unless it's a parcel box or garage. That's pretty much it, which is fair.
So you've got to break into someone's garage, basically.
Well, if they leave the garage unlocked. But then I would argue that that's as insecure as anywhere else. Because if I was looking at a big van pulls up and a parcel and they put it in the garage, I'd think, well, when that van's gone, I could just open that garage and take that parcel. So, but yeah, there's lots of places. My favourite was underneath a trampoline. It's not acceptable to put it underneath a trampoline.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say you can't put it on the trampoline. And I thought, if I had something heavy enough, you could potentially set up a perpetual motion device there. Just have it constant, just a washing machine. You come home from work and there's a washing machine bouncing up and down. That would be good. So if you're listening in the car next to this car, then hello, welcome to We're the Holocaust. You can find us on iTunes under the letters WATL or Wattle, which will be one part of our pub quiz name, which we're not going to reveal in case Player 2 cars steal it. Yeah. I know what theirs will be. Player 2 points. That's all they're going to score. Oy. And that'll be for getting their names right on the form. Yeah, Ian and Nikki, if that's even your real name. She's the one that put googly eyes on her boobs. Do you remember that picture I showed you?
Oh, yeah.
That's her.
Yeah.
And he's the one who's going out with her.
Right.
I don't think they're married.
Oh.
I think his name's Ian Loxham.
Okay.
But sometimes I like to think that he's related to the Robin Hood, because he was Robin of Locksley. So I'm like, he's Ian of Loxham. And he fights the Sheriff of Nottingham in his spare time.
Sheriff of Rockingham died.
Which would make her Maid Marian, or that other one from Robin Hood who wasn't Maid Marian.
What, the Maid... I've forgotten. I can't think of the title.
Yeah. Not the witch woman who
Alan
Rickman's mum. I won't be that rude.
No,
she creeps me out. But,
oh, yeah. No, I know who you mean.
Alan Rickman. That's who I meant.
Yeah. Sheriff of Rockingham died.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. Oh, dear. Well, I mean, it's not as sad as Mr Iwata.
Quite sad.
But it is quite sad. Did you see about Spaceballs? We're going to make a big announcement, and it was the Schwartz Awakens.
No.
And everybody got really excited. It was Dark Helmet's helmet, and then the Schwartz Awakens underneath. And I was like, oh, Spaceballs 2, or oh, Spaceballs the TV series, or oh, what? The Blu-ray release. Fucking, like, don't put the Schwartz Awakens. That just makes me think you're making a sequel. They misled me. I had my Dark Helmet in hand the whole time, as in my DVD copy of the film. I love that film. That's a very good film. It still stands up. Unlike my Dark Helmet. Right, we will see you on Saturday live from MGPX. But until then, keep it frosty, folks.